Gajewski in the house. Hello, Gzregorz, how are you?
Hello, Gzregorz. Hello, everyone.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good. How are you?
And thank you for coming in. Thank you for stopping by. And you have been here in Weisenhaus for now a week. Gzregorz, how is the feeling?
Yeah, the place is amazing. It's really peaceful, really quiet, and the organizers take really good care of us. So yeah, very happy to be here.
But overall, what's your feeling about freestyle chess? And yesterday we did have Peter Heine Nilsson here, who was here with us, and we were talking about him working with Magnus and so on. How has been your experience?
Well, the game is really interesting, and we face some positions that are like kind of mind blowing. The ideas that we've seen, some of them a bit weird to our taste. So yeah, depending on which position you're facing. And obviously it hasn't been easy for Gukesh to play here. It feels like we're like kind of a little bit late to the party. So we're doing our best to catch up, but of course it's not easy. It's within a couple of days. Yeah, it's not easy to learn basically a new game.
But do you think like others have been working quite a lot? Like Magnus, I think, has been working a lot on it. Do you think even other players have dedicated time?
I think some of the players did some freestyle chess focused work for quite some time. I mean, that's clear. And I also think that depending on the style of the player, for some players it's easier to adjust. And that would explain, for instance, great performance by Sindarov, who seems very well suited just by his style to 960. For others, it's a little bit trickier.
Right. People were asking like, has working for the World Championship helped Vincent play well here? He's on fire.
Yeah, we were wondering, instead of coming up with new ideas, he was probably working on 960 quietly. Yes, but hard to say. Maybe it's because he has a very clean positionized style. He's able, even in those random positions, make his move selection is very impressive. Like he can actually make sense out of those seemingly random positions.
Do you think like does that mean like what Hari has a style it's similar to Vincent's style? Is it like both of them have similar like where the pieces go, they understand it well?
Maybe Vincent is a bit more modern. In a sense, he's more influenced by engines, both in a good and bad meaning of the word. But yeah, overall, I would say they're a bit similar.
And Gukesh is right now playing with Ali Reza today, and very interesting game that's going on. We've been looking, and Ali Reza has gone like all out. He's attacking right from the word go. Do you follow the games when they are happening, or what's your schedule like?
Yeah, I do try to follow the games. I mean, not exclusively. Of course, I mainly focus on Gukesh's games. But yeah, sure. I mean, not too many games, so why not to follow?
Right. By the way, Amit Rao has sent a super chat saying, query for Gayu. Do you think Gukesh needs to develop his to play more, intuition play more in order to do better in freestyle and shorter time formats? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. And I think it's not a matter of developing intuition, but rather fighting the habit of calculation. When you calculate so well, it becomes a habit. Like you can't just make a move and say, okay, I'm defending the pawn, because immediately the opponent's answer comes to your mind and you start calculating. So it's he does it automatically. He's simply too good of a calculator not to do this. But of course, it's not that easy in 960, because in 960 calculation can be very misleading, because you have to be very careful about which moves you are calculating. So yes, he needs to improve his intuition, but by intuition I mean 960 intuition, because many moves that intuitively seem fine in classical chess are just pure mistakes in 960. So for instance, today in the morning we are checking one of the positions, and white has a queen on g1 and a rook on a1, so obviously the first two moves were g4 and a4, followed by rook to a3, And then after the rook was attacked, the queen was on h1. So white started with g4, and then he played a4, and then he went rook a3, and then black attacked the rook on a3. So the rook, of course, moved to f3, blocking up the queen. And is that intuitive? Because I mean, for someone who spent a lot of time, maybe that's intuitive, but for us right now, it's completely random. So as I said, there is a lot of learning. I think it's the biggest challenge for 960. It's like we have no history here. There's no literature. Normal chess have been developing for centuries, and here we need to fast track this with engine, and it's not that simple.
And how do you see it, like, because this was a question that we had been debating since all the time in this live stream, that Gukesh is the classical world champion, and he will have more events in classical chess coming up, like the Norway chess, and perhaps many more that he will play. Plus, at the same time, he will be invited to these freestyle events as well, like the next one in Paris. So how much time to devote to this, and how much time to devote to standard chess?
For sure, our focus will be on classical chess. He's still a very young player, and despite being the world champion, there are still many things in his game that he has to work on and improve. So we see no reason to move our focus to any other version of the game. 960 is very interesting, and it's kind of exciting to learn all these new concepts, but we are very clear about where the priorities are.
But then when you play such tournaments, they will be tough, right? Like right now, he's facing it difficulty. How is he taking these? Like I was discussing with Harshit, maybe this might be the longest number of games that Gukesh must have played without a win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it will toughen you up, right? It's not an easy situation where you're the world champion and it's difficult to win a single game. It's actually he hasn't managed to do it so far. But yeah, we try to be objective. It's a different game, a different version of chess, and as I said, we are very late adopters. I mean, he played Weizenhaus last year, but after that he didn't really study on the game. And also before this year's event, we just didn't have any time because after the match, after this short break that he had, and then
he had a lot of engagements.
He had a lot of engagements, and then there was the Tata Steel Masters, which was of course a priority, and
which he did well. Yeah, I guess you would be happy with his play there.
Yeah, I was very happy with the level of chess that he's shown, and of course we hoped for a different outcome, but okay. I mean,
he was very close.
There can only be one winner, and he was not the only one who played a very good tournament.
Yeah, he and also gained like around 10 or 12 ELO points, which is not easy at this rating of 2777.
Yeah, but I think for us it was the most important. It was the first event as a world champion, and people look at you differently, and you also have to adapt. So overall, I think it was a very positive experience.
Right. So yeah, this position right now with Bishop E2, what are your thoughts here, and how do you see it? Like, this knight is out of the game, but Harshit was mentioning that at some point some sacrifices here could become feasible.
Yeah, knight to f4 is the first idea that comes to mind. I mean, not right now, of course, but it's clear. I mean, with this bishop on e2, the knight on f3, with the black pieces, putting real pressure on the long diagonal, it's actually interesting. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, if you told me that black was better here, I would have easily believed you.
It's quite possible.
Because white king seems very delicate.
Yeah.
Seems to be in a very delicate situation here. I mean, at the same time, like this knight on h8, I mean, something has to be done. Like, so obviously knight g6 is the first move that comes to mind.
We had this very cool line that was suggested: knight g6, rook f1. And then knight f4, ef, knight f4, queen g3. And then we were thinking, where is the knockout blow there? And then the chess 960 shows its real colors, freestyle. Where the win comes from a completely different side.
Yeah, complete unexpected. B takes c4, and then after B takes queen a6 is the winning idea, which is completely crazy.
How's that a winning move? Like,
I-
what is the point? Just
I don't know,
to
maybe to
Take or quit.
collect the pawn, or
or go to A3 and some. No, I don't. Actually, we didn't even analyze after that. So here, he
But then
goes.
after
Let's
Queen G4 is the most tempting, right? Like just to like.
but also
go-
like, what is the point of Rook F1 exactly?
no, just to make
just
a
to
random
LF,
move.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to see an idea.
Yeah, what is happening. But even here, if you look at this is actually not bad. And I think this might happen in the game.
If Knight G3, there is H5 or what? Wow.
No, but that's not easy.
Yeah, it's
Knight D3, and the worst part
You
is that
can't
you have
take-
to see all the moves, and at the end of the day, you still have to evaluate the position correctly.
Like
which
this
is,
position.
I guess, the trickiest part. Because some position, for instance, they might look completely wrong, but then there is this one nuance, the opponent's bishop is somewhere on b1 without any activity, and this completely changes the evaluation. So it's not easy to adjust. Like in normal chess, when white is slightly better, it is usually like there are a lot of similarities in the position. Like, let's say our pieces are comparably active. Like, there is a reasonable balance there, but one of the sides has a small weakness here. So there we could say white is slightly better. Here it's not like that. Here it's like I have 3 pawn islands and everything looks wrong about my position, but my pieces are active and all his pieces are on the first rank, so it's slightly better for me. But how do you balance those things, right?
How do you evaluate?
Yeah, it's much harder. It's not something we're used to.
Actually, Magnus once when he came here, he said that I have to unlearn everything that I've learned about normal chess to get good at freestyle chess.
Yeah, it is. It is actually a different game. Like, for me, one of the questions is where is the center?
Yes. There is no center. I think it
Is this
can
in the
also
middle of
be
the
here
board?
also, right? At
Is this in
some
the
point.
middle of the board, or is this where the major pieces are, or is this where the kings is? I don't know. It's like I don't know yet. It's a question. Maybe at some point we'll come up with an answer, but right now we're struggling.
Right.
We realize that in some situations you just play e4, e4, or c4. In some situations you just go a4, and but you know we know some moves, but we still don't know why.
Wow, after talking to you, I realized that this is a very tough thing to master. And it is also something that you go and you play and the world's best are playing. So you have to give a lot of effort. And then it's not at all easy.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's not, and also for young players, it's not easy because when you're young, you still have to learn the game. You want to master the game. But which game are you supposed to master, right?
Right.
And all that you learn at chess is not necessarily useful here. Like, okay, some concepts are, of course, or maybe most of the concepts are basically the same. You want to activate your pieces, you need to take care of a king, but the ways we achieve those aims are completely different.
So by saying that freestyle chess takes away the theoretical aspect of standard chess, it's not that way. It takes away many aspects, not just the opening theory, but it will take away other aspects also.
No, if you want to take away the theoretical aspects, I mean, there are many other ways to achieve that. I mean, you can just, I don't know, choose the 20 most reasonable positions from knight 60 and just play those positions. And then you have normal game of chess without the theory, because nobody would bother to memorize 20 times the amount of theory we're facing right now. I mean, you can make a lottery of starting positions that are not necessarily starting from move 1. You can start from move 10 in many different openings. Like, there are ways to do this. 960 is a way to change the game completely. It's not a way to get rid of the opening. It's just a different game to me.
Wow. Very interesting. And actually then it becomes a very important thing to decide whether Gukesh will play the next events or not and so on, right?
Sure, I mean, we will discuss this after the event. Right now, I mean, let's just hope that today games.
Yes. Today I think everyone's been hoping that he gets in. I think he was very close to wins at many points. It was not like he was not able to win it, because I remember last year when Ding played, when he was the world champion, he was just collapsing in the game. There was no fight.
Yeah.
But this is different. Like, he's been fighting and so on, and there have been many interesting games.
Yeah, he had a bad match against Fabiano.
Yes.
But already
But there,
his
game
match,
one, he was also, there was a chance, no? Queen takes f4.
yeah, there was a chance, and actually more than one chance. But okay. But then the second game was just a misunderstanding. Should have happened, but okay, it has. But for us, it was more important that already his match with Hikaru was a normal match where he really gave his best in all the games. And okay, he did not prevail in the end, but he put up a good fight, so that was a positive. And that is also our goal for today. Just to go there and give your best.
Fight hard.
Yeah, not think about the result, but simply show some good chess, some good freestyle chess.
Fantastic. Harshit bhai, do you have any questions for Gayu?
I mean, I don't know if you already asked, but like, I was like in the beginning of the tournament, I was trying to like prepare if there were like trying to see if there are like some very typical motifs that happen in this. So like, for example, I realized that opening the bishop first is more common than the knights, but of course it changes from time to time because in normal chess we sometimes say that knights before the bishops or like for like of course we can't generalize it, but do you think that in this 960 you should develop the bishops first or like are there any such similar motives that someone can follow as a guideline?
Right now, all I'm seeing are examples, and I'm yet to try to categorize them, come up with some smart rules that would make it easier to find yourself in this new reality. But I'm learning a lot from the games. I mean, it's one of the other challenges about the 960. In normal chess, we have so many games, and thanks to this history, we could see how Capablanca would come up with a nice plan, and then his opponent wouldn't have a clue. So then we can see a nice execution of the plan, and this is something we are deprived of in freestyle chess. But even those bunch of the games by very strong players show us some typical mistakes. Like for instance, many players were very happy to develop their bishops early. Let's say bishop c1 to f4, which is a perfectly natural move. Like say d4, d5, bishop f4. Only to get their bishop chased off soon after, because there was a queen on g8 and rook on e8, so black would go g5 or e5, and it turned out that bishop on f4 was already wrong. Or in one game Hikaru went d5 and bishop f5, and the engine said 1.5 after 3 moves. And but it's a completely natural move. This is like just like our old classical intuition, but simply you don't want to move those bishops too early because they immediately become targets. Not every single time, but in many setups they immediately become targets because bishop f5 can be met with g4 or knight h1 to g3. There are so many ways that can, in which then those pieces can possibly be attacked. So, and I've seen like 4 or 5 examples of bishop f4, bishop f5, or bishop c4, bishop c5. There are pure mistakes. So yeah, it's like we have to get rid of those habits in those games. Sometimes all you need to do to develop your bishop is just to push the pawn gently, and it's there sitting on c8, and it's completely fine there. You don't need to move it, and you can focus on some other pieces. But or the other habit is like just to go d3 or e3. Whereas in 960, quite often you will push the pawns to b4, c4, a4, g4, and the pawns on d2, e2 are classical steps, and they just shouldn't move. Because there is no reason to move. We are used to moving them because in normal chess there is a bishop on c1, bishop on f1, and we have to move them in order to develop those pieces. But when those pieces are on b1, a1, or g1, h1, we don't actually need to push our central pawns. But we all know this, and then we go for the game, and we do what we do because we're used to it. So.
Which kind of brings me to this next question, that since we have such different motives from like classical chess, do you think that the titles like international master and grandmaster or other titles should be the same here, or do you think that there should be that it doesn't really, like, since there's 2 different games, that there should be separate titles for this?
In my personal opinion, it's a bit early to talk about titles in 960. Because right now it's a very new, fresh initiative. It's very interesting, and let's see how the players react in the long run. Let's see if the game gains in popularity among the club players, among the regular chess fans. Will they be happy to play freestyle chess? Will they be happy to follow the events? Like this is the quick question for me, because if they are, then we can start talking about coming up with new rating lists for 960 players. Should there be a freestyle grandmaster? Should there be a freestyle world champion, etc. Right now, it's just a very interesting initiative for the top players in the world. And these guys, they enjoy it, and and of course, their conditions are great. I mean,
The prize
everybody
money.
agrees that not only the prize fund, but also the hospitality of the organizers is on a very top level. It's something entirely new. I mean, not like entirely. The other organizers also do their best, but this is like really, it's like a new
It's
level.
the first time I'm streaming like this from a soundproof booth.
Yeah.
It's very rare to have, and not just me, but there are like 6 more booths here.
Yes, it's incredibly impressive. So kudos for that to the organizers. But this doesn't answer the question. And right now, I just don't know. Will the people play 960? Will they be interested in watching those games? I guess we'll find out.
Before we just look at the move, King Julian asks, after World Championship, there are so many demands on Gukesh's time, apart from chess. Balancing both of these look difficult at the outset. Has Gukesh figured out balancing them or still working on it?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is behind him, because obviously the first couple of weeks after winning the title were tough because there were many meetings, many things that he had to do, many people he had to meet with, etc. But now I think it's slowly coming down, and yeah, we kind of have a set of rules, like how much time we can devote to those things and how much time, and above that we just don't want to have any more commitments. So I think it's a new situation, but it's manageable. And for me, the most important part is that this title should not change him in any way. And he still has to remember that he's a very young player who has plenty to learn. And luckily, I did not see any negative signs after him winning the title. So
yeah, he's still the same.
Yeah, he hasn't changed a bit.
That I can vouch for, spending time with him. But if you had to put like what would be the aim for 2025, because when 2026 comes, one of the major aims will be to defend the title. But what would be the aim for 2025? What for you? What would it be?
Well, we always have slightly different view. Like, I remember, maybe I mentioned this like in some other interview, like one of the first times, I mean, when we were in Norway Chess, for the first time we were there together, he was telling me that he wanted to be in top 10 till the end of the year, and I told him, okay, don't think about it like that. It's about becoming a better player. It's about learning. It's not about the results. Don't make it about the results. And he was listening very gently and became the top player within the next 2 months, the top 10 player. So I think for this year it's similar. For me, the most important goal is for him to learn and to improve. And obviously we will be trying to add some new elements to his game. And for him it's also important, but for him it's also important to win the events and ideally to dominate. If it's possible to dominate, definitely we'll give it a try. But at the very least to win a couple of close tournaments.
Like Norway Chess is definitely one very important one.
For sure, we're not coming there to learn. I mean, we're learning all the time, but we're coming there to win.
Wow, amazing! Yeah, it was superb talking to you about all these things. I think even the people here would have gathered so many insights too, and so many questions that they had throughout this event might have been answered because of your answers.